Alright guys, so today we're going to go spray a laneway that I use to access some of the deeper parts of one of my favorite hunting properties. I've got one stand back there, but it has been awesome in November, and so I don't hunt it at all until second week in November usually, and I might even only hunt it once a year, maybe twice a year. So it seems like a lot of work for a stand that you only hunt twice, but when you do, you can pretty much count on a big one being in the area. I shot a buck there last year on film. I hunted all day, shot him in the evening, and don't know, hopefully I can repeat that this year. So I'm gonna go spray the grass and weeds that have surely grown there. This was an old railroad bed that I always used to walk in, and then they went in and logged it and used it as a logging road. But when they did that, they opened it up so much that it just gets a ton of daylight and it'll grow weeds and grass and everything else. I've got the chainsaw up there because I know there's going to be some logs laying across it. So that's my game plan for this evening, is to go clear those logs, spray these weeds. They're probably chest high by this point, which is too tall. I should have done this earlier. It's let's see, first week of July right now. It's July 6th, and just gonna hit it with some cheap knockoff glyphosate there. I got Imitator Plus from Farm and Home, and generally it just takes once, and that'll ride me through till fall and we're in good shape. If it's too bad, I might go back and hit it again. But you know, haven't had videos out very quickly recently, and I apologize for that. I filmed quite a bit, I just haven't put them together. And me and some buddies went on a big motorcycle trip all through Arizona and Utah, so here's some of that.
Somebody removed all the trees from Kansas
And eastern Colorado.
just before the Dust Bowl is what I presume. I don't know why they decided to, but now they're having trouble bringing them back, apparently. We did see some turkeys and some deers, though. Nobody else did, but I did. We're in this hotel. Forrest immediately started hanging shit to dry, and a massive storm is blowing in. It's raining outside, so I don't know how dry that's going to get. This is our sweet hotel room for $74 a night, so that's pretty much it.
It's gonna be the bear cave for the night. It's gonna get weird in here.
And then if you guys have been watching any of my videos previously, you'll know I've been in a battle with some rats with the local farmer. He's got a bunch of chickens, and these rats have just taken over. I've shot 300 personally, and you know, so I filmed some of that. So here's a quick action shot of some of those rats. Oh, water hose got me. Then also we've been shooting 3D out of Wolf Run bow hunters, and that's been going really well. That club's growing, and I'm excited about that. And we've actually got another one this weekend, so I'll share that. But here's a little bit of the previous shoot.
People shooting.
No, they're just full of shit.
No, the green one is off.
Nope, no. You don't want to see where you're shooting at?
All right, so we got about 20 gallons of water in here. I'm just gonna mix up enough glyphosate to cover that. I'm actually gonna mix it pretty heavy because, like I said, these weeds are tall. Probably gonna be some cockleburs, which are fairly hardy plants. And I'll show you what I'm using. So real simple here. Again, this is just knockoff Farm and Home brand weed and grass killer. You can see the active ingredient is just glyphosate. 41%, and I'm going to use about 30 ounces of this, which is going to be overkill because it's, I think, 48 per acre for tall cockleburs, and I'm not going to be hitting an acre, but I'm going to use the rest of it to come back and hit my driveway, which is looking a little rough as well. This is from last year. There's about 20 ounces in here. Scientifically measured it by shaking the bottle. I've got to go grab the new jug and top that off, but before I do, this is the surfactant that I've been using for a couple years. Got this at Farm and Home as well. It's pretty cheap and it's worked really well. And I just run about a pint, a little less than a pint for these 20 gallons. Now, if you don't have the real scientific measurement here that I do, you may, what I honestly have done in the past is just taken the Miller Lights and Coors Lights. If you have any of those around, they're a 16-ounce pint bottle, and usually I'll just dig one of those out of the trash. We've had a get-together recently, and that's my measuring tool, but it doesn't have to be super scientific for this. So this one's empty. I'll triple rinse it and get rid of it. When I get back, I'll leave that there. So I need about another 20 ounces. I think that was only 16. There we go. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna ride this down to the property, show you what that laneway looks like and why it's important. So you guys can see my path here once I get in, and you saw me come through this tall grass behind me, and I try to leave that kind of tall because I park right there. That's 10 yards of tall grass to get to this path. And now I know most of the people that hunt around here, and everybody's honest and we all get along, but I just don't want an open invite for, you know, random hikers and bikers and stuff like that to show up and run down here, because I already do get quite a few trail camera pictures of people on this path, and no big deal. I understand everybody wants to enjoy the outdoors, but it's kind of a pain in the butt when you just set this aside for a couple hunts in November and then you get folks in jog suits late October just out for a stroll. But yeah, here's the trail. You can see it's dirt here, and again, I keep it sprayed, and this was an old railroad bed, so it never really had a ton of vegetation on it, because there is some topsoil here, but underneath that is just rock. And there's shade at this point, but you'll see as I go down this, it's going to get real tall. As you can kind of see down yonder, the sun pops out and gives this stuff a chance to grow up. I did bring loppers too, because I might trim some of these little branches off the sides. Probably not, unless it's a limb I can't get around. But here you can see where the weeds get quite a bit taller. This is just horse weeds, and it's still not bad. That's the other good thing about horse weeds. If you let them get this tall and then drive through them, you knock them down and they don't stand back up. So between that and the spray, it's gonna be all right. And it actually looks a lot better than I anticipated. You can see everywhere there's shade, it's clear, and then there's sun there, it's tall. And as I get further in here, you'll see it gets fairly timbered. Again, it's quite a bit more open. I haven't gotten fully accustomed to this yet. This is the first full year of it being logged, so I don't know what kind of growth I'm going to experience. I'm just hoping that there's not a bunch of trees that have fallen down, because I'd like to do as little chainsawing as possible. If I can get a four-wheeler through there, I'm happy. So unless it's something that I just can't get around, I'll probably let it lay. Oh, and then this is a good point as well. So you can see here these limbs that kind of lay out here. When fall gets here, no big deal. These will turn brown and fall off, so I'm not worried about them. But it is a good idea that you keep this stuff trimmed so you have enough room to walk through without touching anything. and that's just for scent control. And that's another good reason to have a sprayed path, because you can see here, even not sprayed, I don't have weeds way up my pant leg there. So I can walk in, I'm not leaving a bunch of scent, I'm wearing rubber boots, everything's gonna be well below that. And then I'll just keep the edges wide enough that I'm not hitting anything with my shoulders or having to push anything out of the way with my hands. And then you've got a straight, quiet, scent-free path to your honey hole. Okay, so my sprayer here, this is just an old cheapie, a couple $100, probably 10 years ago. They're 4 or 5 now, but I'm sure you can find a good deal. Only thing that's gone wrong with it is this pressure gauge blew up on me, so I got a new one. But you'll see, I'll run it about 40 psi. It's just a little 3-foot boom, and I'll just go through here at a couple miles an hour. And pretty simple setup. I've got the pump hooked up here to a battery tender pigtail, and then of course I've got a tender on the 4-wheeler here, so I just plug that in when I'm ready to roll, and then it is switched. So if I pull up to a log I need to cut, I'll just switch it off. And then this valve here runs to my boom. It'll start dripping there, but I just leave that shut off while I travel so I don't lose any water. Easy peasy. Let's roll through. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and kick this on. I've got it plugged in here. I'll go ahead and open this valve, power it on. You'll see my gauge run up to about 40. Hover right there, and you can see I've got a nice line there. So we'll just run down and we'll run back. Makes it very easy. And again, what I used to do is just run a broadleaf killer, crossbow or 2,4-D. But now that the sunlight's getting to the ground, I'm getting a lot more grass, so I started running glyphosate. But I'm trying not to, you know, just kill everything out here. But I do want to keep that basic dirt path. And honestly, as long as you're doing this on a day like this where it's nice and calm, you don't got drift issues or things like that. Oh, looky there. Made it 60 yards. I can get over that, but you know, I'm here, I've got the saw, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the way, and I'll come back, and a lot of times I'll come after deer season and use this stuff for firewood. I've got a fire stove there in the shop, so that's perfect for it. Okay, so I didn't cut it into firewood size, but I cut it into side-by-side size in case I've got somebody that something a little wider than this needs to come in and help me. But hey, that helps with the walking too. Hopefully I don't find a bunch of that. I had forgotten this was here, so I knew about this log, but a few minute detour, no big deal. Let's keep rolling. Oh boy. Glad I saw that. Holy cow. You see this? There's an old drain pipe here. It washed out, so I gotta stay to the right. That could have been bad. Another reason to keep this stuff sprayed. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in 4-wheel drive too, because I know these loggers left some pretty good ruts. I gotta navigate. They've actually, the water has kind of leveled them out, but they're still there. All right, made it to log number 2. But we're over halfway. So all in all, not too bad. This looks better than I anticipated, but I've been trying to take care of it now for, this will be the 4th year, first year after logging. And honestly, they help me out a lot in some ways and hurt me in some ways with those ruts that they've got there, and you know, the extra sunlight. But the extra width of the trail is awesome, because it used to be just as wide as a 4-wheeler, and now I've got room for a Jeep if you wanted to. So let's get this out of the way. too. All right, guys, so my tree stand is actually, just walk through this pesticide real quick. The tree stand's actually right there. I don't know if you can see it. There's this little dead break-off tree, and then just to the right of it, this oak. You can see that ladder in it. So that's my tree stand, and it shoots this laneway. But this laneway runs up, and there's another logging path that intersects with it about 40 yards out. And that logging path runs 20 yards past the stand up here. So I'm just in this nice little intersection. And so it's just a neat little area, because all of this back here is thick brush. It's just a ridge top full of brush. They bed on that. And there's this road that cuts this, kind of splits off of that ridge, and there's a bottom on the other side of it, and a bunch of bedding up here where it starts to come back up. So this is a perfect little funnel between those two big pieces of bedding, with logging roads now helping intersect it even more. And this stand in November can be really, really good. Last year, the level of activity I saw was not as good as years past, but it still ended up with a punch tag. And I have to assume that this year, you know, it's going to be at least that good. I don't see why it would get worse, because it's always been tremendous. I wait till November. I take this path real quietly, 1, maybe 2 days a year, sit here all day once I'm in here, because it is probably a half mile through timber. But you've just got a nice easy way in here, and most of your activity is down here. So I'm not walking through a lot of deer, and the ones I am, I appear to be able to walk past. And especially early in the morning, they're still out in the fields, which are on both sides of this block. And it just makes a really nice access point, and it's really, really helped me out filling tags. I've shot 3 or 4 deer out of this exact spot. That tree I've shot 1 deer out of, but there's a tree that used to be right in here that I shot several out of over the past few years. So number one thing with hunting big whitetails, you've heard it a million times, access is key, and it really is. And if you have a spot that you hunt that you just know is prime and you have no way to get to it, look at your prevalent wind directions. You know, like, I wish this stand was great for a northwest, because a cold front in November would be even better here, but that's not what I have. So I have to come from the north, so I need a south wind, and I just figured out a way to make it work. And I recommend doing that on your own property. And if you've got a 4-wheeler with a sprayer, if you've got a chainsaw or even a handsaw, whatever, get you a path cleared out. If you don't have a sprayer, you can even go and rake it and just get it ready to go, because it seems to make a big difference. So enough with that. Need to turn that off, it's dripping back here. This, I have left this now for a couple of years because I don't need to ride the 4-wheeler past it generally, but I do have a camera here. Looks like a pretty sketchy treetop to be cutting on, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it, because I want to be able to get my wheeler through here, because I run a camera right there at that intersection I was talking about. And I like to be able to ride straight to my cameras, not get off of the 4-wheeler. Again, I take scent pretty seriously. Not worried about it today, but running cameras, I just ride a 4-wheeler in, check them from the 4-wheeler, pull the card, put a new card in, touch very little, leave. And I'll still notice mature deer not showing up for a day or two after that, or showing up immediately after that, not again for a week. So all of this stuff that you guys think may be blown out of proportion, you can get away with more than some would have you believe, but not on certain properties, not in certain parts of the country. You take that stuff and really follow the rules. You know, I just recommend going that little extra mile, doing little stuff like this in the summer, being real careful with cameras, not checking them all the time. Cell cameras are awesome now. I don't run them yet, but that's even better, because you've got absolute zero touch trail cameras. That's enough, sorry for blabbing. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this so I can get through here, and I'm gonna go ahead and spray this road, and I'm gonna spray my little logging road and just give these deer another reason to use this, because they will take the path of least resistance. And I don't want this to grow up into brush. I want to keep it as a laneway. Sounded good. Oh yeah, we're good. My stand is right here in this oak tree. You can see it there. This is only about 20 yards, maybe just a tick over. And the buck I shot last year was standing right here. He came off of this hill. He'd been either bedding up here in this brush or just came cruising down this ridge. Either one would have made sense. I caught him right before dark out of the corner of my eye, stood up, drew, and it all happened so fast. He wasn't even on the good camera. He was just on a GoPro. But I shot him here. He ran down through that intersection we just talked about and died right on the edge of it. And, you know, just proof that this stand was a good location. And I really liked that. So hopefully we can get a repeat here for 2021. About 3 weeks, the end of July, I will come in here and I'll put up trail cameras. And at that point, I'll double check all my stands. I just leave all my straps loose in the off season. So I'll come in, I'll tighten up my straps. I definitely need some trimming done. I'll bring a pole saw that day, and I'll just worry all about that at the same time. I'm gonna head on out. That's what they meant. Hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and pump the wash out of this tank in a backpack sprayer, hit the driveway, and I will be touching base soon with some 3D action. We've got a 3D shoot at Wolf Run Bow Hunters this weekend, so I'm going to take and show you guys all that we do. We're going to have a work day, we're going to do a little bit of camping, and then we're going to shoot some 3D. So stay tuned if you want to see that. Appreciate y'all watching.